Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well. So, as you probably saw from today's title, we are looking at another top 10 list, but more specifically the top 10 summer horror movies. As we are now approaching the end of June and going into summer, how are we already in summer? I wanted to collate a list of the best horror movies to watch in the summer months and share it with you guys. Those horror movies that get us in the mood for warmer weather, going to the beach, camping in the woods, and just the summer holidays. And I don't know about you guys, but when the days start getting longer, the nights start getting lighter, I always want to watch horror movies with a summer setting. And there are those movies that I always reach for and revisit every single summer. This list is going to include some of those movies that are a yearly rewatch for me for the summer months, but it's also going to include a couple of movies that I have watched for the first time recently and already know that I will be rewatching them on a yearly basis. This list is also going to include a mixture of subgenres and settings such as camping and beach horror movies, because I wanted this to be a good mixture of horror movies that just capture summer. But while I was making this list, I was inspired to come up with lots of other top 10 lists, those that expand on the movies that are in this top 10. So hopefully over the next few months I will also be releasing those top 10 lists. How many more times can you say top 10 lists? Lists for the best camping and woodsy horror, aquatic horror, water creature feature horror, non-water creature feature horror, and road trip / motel horror. I will put them all in my top 10 playlist, but I will also make a separate playlist for the summer horror movies so they're easy to find, and hopefully there will be something for everybody in them. This list will be spoiler free for all of the movies included, and also remember that this is my top 10 list, so it might not match with your top 10 list. I have no doubt that there will be movies missing because there are ones that I haven't seen, ones that I don't like, but also remember, maybe if there is a movie missing from this list, it will be popping up in one of my other top 10 lists. But with all that being said, let's get into today's top 10 lists of best summer horror movies. Kicking off the list is Steven Spielberg's Jaws, released in 1975. When a young woman is killed by a shark while swimming off the coast of Amity Island, Police Chief Martin Brody wants to close the beaches, but the mayor overrules him, fearing that the loss of tourist revenue will cripple the town. Marine biologist Matt Hooper and shark hunter Quint offer to help Brody capture the killer beast, and the trio engage in an epic battle of man versus nature. Of course, this one is on the list. Jaws is considered to be the original summer blockbuster and was a watershed moment in film history. It's also one of my own personal favourite movies of all time. With its beach town setting of Amity and lots of people swimming and sunbathing and the entire third act being set out at sea, this is an absolute perfect watch for the summer months. An interesting fact about Jaws is how the audience doesn't actually see the villain or the shark until a whopping 1 hour and 21 minutes into the movie's runtime. This is because of the now notorious problems that they had with the mechanical shark affectionately named Bruce. There were lots of times when it just wouldn't work and it was unreliable, so this forced the movie creators to become creative, and instead they gave the audience the killer POV, popularly used in slasher movies. But actually, keeping the killer hidden from the audience for so long and building tension with the use of John Williams' amazing score, it actually helped them create an incredible level of fear and anxiety through the movie. Speaking of the 4th of July, next up is I Know What You Did Last Summer, released in 1997. After a night of celebrations, 4 friends accidentally run over a man and dump his body in the ocean. 1 year later, the friends begin receiving threatening notes and notice they're being stalked by a hooked fisherman. With their friendships strained, can they work together to figure out who is hunting them before it's too late? Another of my favourites and regular rewatches, I Know What You Did Last Summer, stars Sarah Michelle Gellar, Freddie Prinze Jr., Ryan Phillippe and Jennifer Love Hewitt, which in the 90s was an absolute knockout cast. Like Jaws, it's loosely based on the novel of the same name, written by Lois Duncan, who was not a fan of this movie adaptation. Released in the wake of the phenomenal success of Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer is another teen slasher movie that were becoming popular in the late 90s and were saturating the market. But For me, what stands out about I Know What You Did Last Summer is the fact that it is a really good horror movie and it is really well written. And I think this is because the screenplay was written by Kevin Williamson, who also wrote Scream. Its characters are fleshed out and sympathetic, and I genuinely care about them. And I think that the plot is quite an interesting one as well. And with the added element of the mystery identity of the killer, it helps keeps the audience engaged like it did in Scream as well. And I think that the whole aesthetic of the hooked fisherman and the small fishing town is just brilliant. Next, we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, released in 1974. When Sally hears that her grandfather's grave may have been vandalized, she and her brother Franklin set out with their friends to investigate. After a detour to their family's old farmhouse, they discover a group of crazed, murderous outcasts living next door. As the group is attacked one by the chainsaw-wielding Leatherface, who wears a mask of human skin, the survivors must do everything they can to escape. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was co-written and directed by Tobe Hooper, and like Jaws, had a huge impact on the movie industry and is considered one of the most influential horror movies of all time. Set against the backdrop of Watergate, the Vietnam War and the fuel crisis, Texas Chainsaw Massacre perfectly captures and reflects the contemporary turmoil of America in the 70s. And what works so well with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is just how accessible it is for any type of audience. There is so much to take away from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so much to read into and pick apart, but if you don't want that from your movie, it is also just a really good slasher film. And with its dry, dusty settings and sun-bleached buildings, there's something about this film that really helps make you feel like you can feel the grimy, sweaty summer heat as well. I have actually already done a standalone review of both the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie and the new one that came out earlier this year, and I have also done an episode ranking all of the Leatherface killers. So if you're interested in more in-depth thoughts on these movies, I will leave a link to that playlist here so you can go and check those out. Next up, it's The Lost Boys, released in 1987. Teenage brothers Michael and Sam move with their mother to a small town in Northern California. While the younger Sam meets a pair of kindred spirits in comic book nerds Edward and Alan, Michael soon falls for Star and gets tied up with a local gang of vampires. The Lost Boys has often been credited with bringing a fresh appeal to the vampire subgenre by making its vampires sexy and young. It's also one of my own favourite vampire movies because of how punk and 80s it is. Between the outstanding soundtrack and the outfits, it's just this perfect time capsule of the 80s. The Lost Boys is a movie that is so vibrant and full of energy, set in the fictional beach town of Santa Carla in California. It's also probably the movie that is the most fun on this list, because for some reason everyone and everything in this movie is so cool and often so random. I mean, you have 14-year-old vampire hunters that also run a comic book store, a weed-growing granddad, and a sweaty, shirtless performance of I Still Believe by Tim Capello. Next up is Midsommar, released in 2019. Danny joins her boyfriend Christian and his friends as they travel to Northern Europe to visit a rural hometown's fabled Swedish Midsummer festival. What begins as an idyllic retreat quickly devolves into an increasingly violent and bizarre competition at the hands of a pagan cult. Midsommar is produced by A24 and is written and directed by Ari Aster, and one of the most striking things about Midsommar is how it is possibly one of the brightest horror movies out there. The majority of the movie is set in daylight rather than the dark and the shadows. The bright sunshine, its beautiful, colourful setting, and the fact that it is set in June do make Midsommar a perfect summer watch, but I should state, and quite strongly, that if you haven't seen this yet, be aware that this movie is not going to be for everyone. Midsommar is quite a polarising movie, and that's mostly due to the fact that it has some incredibly heavy and distressing content, including some pretty extreme body horror and head trauma. This is a movie where it would be a good idea to look up trigger warnings before watching. It is an incredibly well-made movie. Every little detail is perfectly imagined, created and portrayed, and there are so many moments of foreshadowing and little Easter eggs that the attentive watcher is rewarded when watching Midsommar. There are also some incredible performances, especially from Florence Pugh, and I also have to say that for me this is probably one of the most visually striking movies that I have ever seen. Next up we have Friday the 13th, released in 1980. A group of camp counselors are brutally killed off one by an unknown killer at a summer camp called Camp Crystal Lake. The camp had been closed down 22 years ago after 2 camp counselors were killed, exactly 1 year after the tragic drowning of a boy in the lake. Now with the camp due to reopen, there is someone who is determined to make sure it stays closed. Again, I feel like this is an obvious inclusion. The Friday the 13th franchise is just as big a summer staple as the Halloween franchise is of October. I've included the original, but to be honest, you could pick nearly any from the franchise as they're all mostly set in the summer and around a lake, except for 1 or 2 like Jason X. The Friday the 13th movies and their hockey-masked killer, Jason Voorhees, are iconic and recognisable to almost anybody, even people who don't necessarily consider themselves a horror fan, and with its camp and lakeside setting, they are the perfect summer watch. I have actually already reviewed the first 3 movies in the Friday the 13th franchise, so I will leave a link to the playlist here, and I will get around to reviewing all of the other parts at some point. Okay, this next one I'm really excited to talk about because it's a new watch for me and I haven't spoken about it on this channel yet. So, next we have Sleepaway Camp, released in 1983. After a horrible boating accident kills her family, shy Angela moves in with her aunt and her cousin Ricky. One summer they head to Camp Arawak, and shortly after arrival, people begin getting killed off one by one. I watched this one for the first time the other week and it has instantly become one of my favourite horror movies, and I will be rewatching this every summer. I absolutely loved this bizarre movie. It's a cheesy 80s slasher movie that is probably best known for its infamous ending. Sleepaway Camp is set in a summer camp like Friday the 13th, but what is interesting here is that we follow a mixture of characters from camp counsellors to actual campers, and we follow these people using the camp, and I think that having that interwound with the killings makes for a much more interesting watch. I personally think that this is stronger than the Friday the 13th movies. I know, but it's just, Sleepaway Camp is unintentionally hilarious. There are some choice dialogue and it had me laughing out loud multiple times. There's just so much to love with this movie, from the mullets and the crazy short shorts to a random 6-minute long baseball game just put in the middle of the movie, to the camp leader's dramatic soliloquies. But as much as I love this movie and its campy nature and creative kills, this is a cheesy 80s slasher movie and is very much a product of its time. And there are unfortunately some character lines and character choices that are highly questionable. Next up, we have It Chapter 1, directed by Andy Muschietti and released in 2017. 7 young outcasts in Derry, Maine are about to face their worst nightmare, an ancient shape-shifting evil that emerges from the sewer every 27 years to prey on the town's children. Banding together over the course of one horrifying summer, the friends must overcome their own personal fears to battle the murderous, bloodthirsty clown known as Pennywise. It Chapter 1 is another horror movie set in summer, but rather than a camping or beach horror, this time we join the Losers Club as they try to keep themselves entertained in their hometown during the summer holidays. For me, I love how, aside from the horror side of the story, it really reminds me of hanging out with your friends during the summer, riding your bikes and hanging out in the woods. But like Andy Muschietti himself says, they managed to create this perfect balance between the whimsical nostalgia of childhood and the darker, harsher side of the reality of what these kids are dealing with. It Chapter 1 is a beautiful movie and has lots of humour injected in it thanks to the kids, but along with Midsommar, I would probably say that It Chapter 1 is the most emotional movie on this list. It has a lot of jump scares in it, but for me, a lot of the movie's horror comes from the adults of Derry and the children's home lives. Next up is The Burbs, directed by Joe Dante and released in 1989. Setting in for some time off in his suburban home, Ray Peterson's vacation becomes a horror when the Klopeks, a suspiciously odd family, move in down the block. Convinced his new neighbours are evil, Ray enlists the help of his friends to find out the truth. The Burbs is a dark comedy horror movie that also acts as a kooky satire. While the plot follows Ray and his friends investigating the potential horror and danger that is the Klopeks, Dante actually uses the film to poke fun at the masculine ego. The residents of the cul-de-sac in the Burbs represent the domestication of people living in the sleepy suburbs, and the lead character Ray is the perfect symbol of a restless person wanting to break out of the monotony, and he is desperate to prove that not only can he prove there is a danger, but that he can also save the street and his family from it. Do you want to come sit up here? Yeah? Yeah. For me, The Burbs is a perfect summer watch and is a favourite rewatch of the summer months. It is a reimagining of Rear Window, and like Rear Window, its action takes place in one setting, in this case the cul-de-sac. And the setting of warm, lazy summer days at home in the garden just is perfect for getting me into the summer mood. What also makes The Burbs a perfect watch is how they balance the dark comedic horror with the actual genuine humour in the movie. And a lot of the humour comes from the wacky ragtag band of neighbours. You have the veteran, the trophy wife, the man-child, you have Corey Feldman's stoner teen, and of course, rounding it off, we have the fantastic Carrie Fisher as Ray's wife. Okay, so number 10 was a really difficult one for me to choose, and I'm not even exaggerating. I pondered over this for what feels like hours. It probably wasn't, but it feels like it, because there are so many good potential movies for this spot, but as I'm making other top 10 lists, I didn't want to just put a bunch of films in that are going to appear in every single one of these lists. There are also summer horror movies that I haven't seen yet. There are ones that I don't like, and so I don't want to recommend those, and there's also some that, while they may be perfect for these kinds of lists, I don't feel comfortable recommending them here on this channel. So, with that being said, I decided to go with Old. Now, before you click off, I am not saying this is a great movie by any means, but it is literally a horror movie that follows a family on a summer holiday and is set at a holiday resort and on the beach. I mean, how much more summer horror movie can you get? A couple who is about to get divorced takes their children to a tropical resort on a vacation. Their trip soon turns into a nightmare when they end up on a secluded beach that makes them age rapidly. Not one for everyone, granted, but you have the beach, you have the sea, you have sunny weather, and you have horror. Tick, tick, tick. So there you go, guys, my top 10 horror movies that are perfect to watch in the summer months. Let me know what you thought of this list. I'm sure some of you will have comments on me including Old. Like I said, not necessarily one of my favourites, but it is literally a perfect horror movie to watch in the summer months. But let me know if you are going to watch any of these or if I missed out any of your favourites. Remember, there are of course going to be loads missing from this list because I am making other top 10 lists and including those movies over there in those more specific categories. So if you're not subscribed already, make sure you do so you don't miss out on those. But in the meantime, thank you as always for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. Take care of yourselves and I will talk to you in the next episode. Bye guys.